Children may exhibit increased anxiety, sadness, or behavioral issues when separated from their primary caregiver. Developmental delays. Prolonged separation can result in delays in learning and development, such as problems with language, social skills, or independence. Attachment issues. Children may struggle to form healthy relationships in the future, leading to difficulties with trust and intimacy. 2. Critical period. Bowlby believed that there is a critical period, typically the first few years of life, when a child is particularly sensitive to maternal deprivation. During this time, the emotional bond is forming, and disruptions can have significant consequences. 3. Long-term consequences. Children who experience maternal deprivation may face long-term effects, including increased risks for mental health issues, such as depression and anxiety, as well as difficulties in forming secure attachments as adults. 4. Temporary vs permanent séparation. It's important to note that not all separations from a mother lead to maternal deprivation effects. For example, temporary separations can sometimes be managed healthily if there is continued emotional support and reassurance. However, prolonged or traumatic separations are more likely to lead to negative consequences. Examples illustrating maternal deprivation. 1. Example of separation due to illness. Scenario: a mother is hospitalized for an extended period, and her young child is placed in the care of relatives. Explanation: the child may experience anxiety and sadness due to the separation from their mother. If the child does not receive adequate emotional support during this time, they may develop symptoms of distress or attachment issues. 2. Example of neglect. Scenario: a child grows up in a neglectful environment where the mother is emotionally unavailable or consistently absent. Explanation: the child may struggle with forming healthy relationships and may experience difficulties with self-esteem, trusting others, or managing their emotions as they grow older. 3. Example of adoption. Scenario: a baby is placed for adoption shortly after birth and has limited contact with the biological mother. Explanation: while many adopted children thrive, those who have experienced lack of bonding with their biological mother in the early stages may face challenges in their emotional development, especially if there was no consistent nurturing figure during that time. Conclusion. In summary, maternal deprivation is a significant concept that highlights the importance of the mother-child bond in early development. When children are separated from their primary caregiver, especially in their formative years, they may experience various emotional and developmental issues. Understanding maternal deprivation can help inform strategies for supporting children who face disruptions in their attachments, which is crucial for your preparation for the CPC exam as it relates to child development and mental health. Behaviorist theories. Radical behaviorism. Radical behaviorism is a psychological perspective that focuses on observable behavior, rejecting the notion of internal thoughts and feelings as significant influences on actions. Developed primarily by B.F. Skinner, radical behaviorism seeks to understand how behaviors are learned and maintained through interactions with the environment. Here's a simple explanation of radical behaviorism, including key concepts, important details, and examples to illustrate the topic. Key concepts. 1. Definition. Radical behaviorism. This is a branch of behaviorism that emphasizes the importance of observable behavior and the environmental factors that shape it, while dismissing internal mental states as explanations for behavior. 2. Behavior. In radical behaviorism, behavior is seen as any action that a person or animal takes, which can be measured and observed. This includes everything from speaking and writing to responses to stimuli. 3. Environment. The environment plays a crucial role in shaping behavior. Radical behaviorists believe that behaviors are acquired and modified by the consequences of those behaviors. Important details. 1. Operant conditioning. Skinner is known for his work on operant conditioning, which is a learning process where behaviors are influenced by their consequences. Reinforcement. If a behavior is followed by a reward, that behavior is likely to be repeated. For example, if a child is praised for completing their homework, they are more likely to do it again. Punishment. If a behavior is followed by an unpleasant consequence, that behavior is less likely to be repeated. For example, if a student is scolded for talking out of turn in class, they may stop doing it. 2. Rejecting internal states. Unlike other psychological theories, radical behaviorism does not focus on internal thoughts or feelings. Instead, it claims that all behavior can be understood by examining the relationship between environmental stimuli and observable responses. 3. Application. Radical behaviorism is widely used in behavior modification techniques, therapy, education, and animal training. For instance, it forms the basis of applied behavior analysis, a method often used to help individuals with autism develop important skills. Examples illustrating radical behaviorism. 1. Example of operant conditioning. Scenario: a teacher uses a reward system in class where students earn points for good behavior and lose points for disruptive behavior. Explanation: over time, students who receive points for following rules are more likely to continue that positive behavior because they want to earn rewards. 2. Example of behavior modification. Scenario: a parent uses a sticker chart to encourage a child to practice piano. Each time the child practices, they receive a sticker. Explanation: the child learns to associate practicing piano with receiving a reward, reinforcing the desired behavior. 3. Example of animal training. Scenario: a dog trainer uses treats to reward a dog for following commands, like sitting or staying. Explanation: the dog learns to respond to commands because it expects a reward when it does so, demonstrating operant conditioning principles. Conclusion. In summary, radical behaviorism is a psychological approach that focuses on observable behavior and the influence of the environment on that behavior, largely ignoring internal thoughts and feelings. Key concepts include operant conditioning and reinforcement or punishment as mechanisms of learning. Understanding radical behaviorism is important for recognizing how behaviors can be shaped through external influences, which is relevant for your preparation for the CPC exam in areas like behavior modification and psychological theories. Operant conditioning. Operant conditioning is a psychological concept developed by B.F. Skinner that focuses on how behaviors are learned and modified through consequences. It involves the idea that when actions are followed by rewards or punishments, it affects whether those actions are likely to be repeated in the future. Here's a straightforward explanation of operant conditioning, including key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand this topic. Key concepts. 1. Definition of operant conditioning. Operant conditioning. This is a learning process in which behavior is influenced by the consequences that follow it, such as rewards or punishments. 2. Reinforcement. Reinforcement is any consequence that increases the likelihood of a behavior being repeated. There are two types of reinforcement. Positive reinforcement, adding a pleasant stimulus to encourage a behavior. For example, giving a child praise or rewards for doing their homework. Negative reinforcement, removing an unpleasant stimulus to encourage a behavior. For example, reducing chores for a teenager who has been consistently responsible. 3. Punishment. Punishment is a consequence that decreases the likelihood of a behavior being repeated. Like reinforcement, there are two types of punishment. Positive punishment, adding an unpleasant stimulus to discourage a behavior. For example, scolding a pet for chewing on furniture. Negative punishment, removing a pleasant stimulus to discourage a behavior. For example, taking away a teenager's phone for breaking curfew. 4. Shaping. Shaping is a technique used in operant conditioning where successive approximations of a desired behavior are reinforced until the final desired behavior is achieved. It's used when the desired behavior is complex and not performed naturally. Important details. 1. Skinner box. B.F. Skinner famously used a device known as the Skinner box, which was designed to study operant conditioning. Inside the box, an animal could perform actions to receive food or avoid a mild shock. This setup demonstrated how behaviors could be increased or decreased through rewards and punishments. 2. Applications. Operant conditioning is widely used in various settings, including education, therapy, and animal training. 3. Continuous versus partial reinforcement. Continuous reinforcement, providing a reward every time the behavior occurs. This leads to quick learning, but can lead to rapid extinction if the reward stops. Partial reinforcement, providing a reward only some of the time. This schedule creates a stronger, more persistent behavior because the individual learns to continue the behavior in hopes of receiving the reward. Examples illustrating operant conditioning. 1. Example of positive reinforcement. Scenario: a teacher gives students extra recess time when they complete their assignments on time. Explanation: the extra recess acts as a positive reinforcement, encouraging students to complete their assignments more consistently in the future. 2. Example of negative reinforcement. Scenario: a teacher allows students to skip the final exam if they maintain high grades throughout the semester. Explanation: skipping the exam is a positive outcome for those who work hard, and it removes the unpleasant experience of taking a test, encouraging students to study and maintain good grades. 3. Example of positive punishment. Scenario: a parent gives a child extra chores for misbehaving. Explanation: the added chores are meant to discourage the child from continuing misbehavior by adding an unpleasant consequence. 4. Example of negative punishment. Scenario: a teenager loses driving privileges for coming home late. Explanation: by taking away the privilege of driving, the parent aims to reduce the behavior of staying out late. Conclusion. In summary, operant conditioning is a learning process that explains how behaviors can be shaped by their consequences, whether through reinforcement or punishment. B.F. Skinner's work in this area provides valuable insights into behavior modification techniques that are applicable in various fields, including education, therapy, and animal training. Understanding operant conditioning will help you recognize how behaviors are influenced by environmental factors, a key concept for the CPC exam in your studies in psychology. Positive and negative reinforcement. Positive and negative reinforcement are key concepts in behavioral psychology, specifically within the framework of operant conditioning developed by B.F. Skinner. These terms describe how certain stimuli strengthen or encourage specific behaviors. Here's a breakdown of these concepts, including key definitions, important details, and examples to make them easy to understand. Key concepts. 1. Definition of reinforcement. Reinforcement: a process in which a behavior is followed by a consequence that increases the likelihood of that behavior occurring again in the future. 2. Positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement: this involves adding a pleasant stimulus after a behavior to increase the chances that the behavior will be repeated. It's like giving a reward for a good action. 3. Negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement: this involves removing an unpleasant stimulus after a behavior to increase the likelihood of that behavior being repeated. It's not punishment. Rather, it encourages behavior by taking away something negative. Important details. 1. Purpose of reinforcement. Both positive and negative reinforcement are used to encourage behaviors that are desirable. They help shape behavior by providing consequences that motivate individuals to act. 2. Misunderstanding of negative. The term negative reinforcement can be confusing because it does not mean punishment. Instead, it refers to the removal of something aversive. The goal is to make a behavior more likely by taking away something undesirable. 3. Applications. Reinforcement techniques are widely used in various settings, including education, parenting, and even in workplaces. Examples illustrating positive and negative reinforcement. 1. Example of positive reinforcement. Scenario: a teacher gives students stickers for completing their homework on time. Explanation: the stickers are a positive reward that encourages students to keep doing their homework consistently because they want to earn more stickers. 2. Example of negative reinforcement. Scenario: a teenager's parents let them skip chores for the week if they maintain good grades. Explanation: by allowing the teenager to avoid chores, the parents encourage the teenager to keep their grades up, leading to more study and focus on schoolwork. 3. Another example of positive reinforcement. Scenario: a dog trainer gives a dog a treat for sitting on command. Explanation: the treat serves as a positive reinforcement that encourages the dog to sit on command in the future. 4. Another example of negative reinforcement. Scenario: a student studies hard to avoid the anxiety of failing a test. Explanation: the act of studying removes the unpleasant feeling of worry about failing. As a result, the student is more likely to study again in the future to avoid that anxiety. Summary. In summary, Positive reinforcement involves adding a pleasant stimulus to encourage a behavior, while negative reinforcement involves removing an unpleasant stimulus to promote a behavior. Both types of reinforcement are effective strategies for increasing desired behaviors in educational settings, at home, and in various aspects of life. Understanding these concepts can help you in applying effective behavior modification techniques, which is useful for your CPC exam preparation and future work in psychology or counseling. Counterconditioning. Positive reinforcement plays a crucial role in the process of counterconditioning by encouraging the desired emotional and behavioral responses in individuals as they confront their fears or negative associations. Here's how positive reinforcement contributes to counterconditioning. Key roles of positive reinforcement in counterconditioning. 1. Encourages approach to the stimulus. Positive reinforcement helps support an individual's willingness to face the feared stimulus. When they receive rewards or positive feedback during exposure to the feared object or situation, it motivates them to approach it rather than avoid it. For example, if someone is learning to overcome their fear of dogs by receiving treats or praise for being calm around a dog, they're more likely to continue facing that fear. 2. Replaces negative associations. During counterconditioning, positive reinforcement is used to replace negative emotional associations with positive ones. When the feared stimulus is presented alongside something rewarding, it helps the individual develop new, positive associations. For instance, if a child is anxious about going to the dentist, providing a small toy or praise for good behavior can help create a more positive association with dental visits. 3. Strengthens desired behaviors. Positive reinforcement strengthens the desired behaviors by rewarding calmness or courage during exposure to the feared stimulus. This reinforcement makes it more likely that the individual will repeat those calm behaviors in the future. For example, if a student receives praise from a teacher for delivering a presentation without showing anxiety, they are likely to feel more confident and less anxious during future presentations. 4. Facilitates progressive exposure. In counterconditioning, individuals typically experience gradual exposure to the feared object or situation. Positive reinforcement is essential during this process as it provides reassurance that they're doing well. For instance, if someone afraid of public speaking receives positive feedback after practicing in front of a small group, they are encouraged to seek out more opportunities for public speaking, leading to successful desensitization. 5. Builds emotional resilience. By consistently applying positive reinforcement during counterconditioning, individuals learn to cope with their fears more effectively. This gradually helps build their emotional resilience and confidence, making it easier for them to handle similar situations in the future. Conclusion. In summary, positive reinforcement is a vital component of counterconditioning, as it motivates individuals to face their fears, creates new positive associations, strengthens desired behaviors, supports progressive exposure, and builds emotional resilience. By integrating positive reinforcement into the counterconditioning process, therapists and educators can effectively help individuals overcome their fears and develop healthier emotional responses. Understanding this relationship is important for your studies in psychology and counseling, especially in the context of behavior modification strategies. Systematic desensitization. Systematic desensitization is a behavioral therapy technique used to help individuals overcome fears and anxieties. It involves gradually exposing a person to the feared object or situation while teaching them relaxation techniques to reduce anxiety. The goal is to replace the fear response with a more positive or neutral response. Here's a breakdown of systematic desensitization, including key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand this topic better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of systematic desensitization. Systematic desensitization. This is a psychological treatment method designed to help individuals reduce their anxiety responses to specific fears by gradually exposing them to the feared object or situation while pairing it with relaxation techniques. 2. Foundation in classical conditioning. Systematic desensitization is based on the principles of classical conditioning, where a neutral stimulus becomes associated with a positive or negative response. In this case, the goal is to replace a negative fear response with a relaxed response. 3. Steps of systematic desensitization. Relaxation training. The first step involves teaching the individual relaxation techniques, such as deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or visualization. Create a fear hierarchy. The therapist and the individual collaboratively create a list of scenarios related to the fear, ranked from least to most anxiety-provoking. Gradual exposure. The individual is gradually exposed to each item on the fear hierarchy while practicing relaxation techniques. They start with the least scary item and only move on to the next item once they can remain relaxed. Important details. 1. Relaxation technique. Relaxation is a key part of systematic desensitization. Techniques may include 1. Progressive muscle relaxation, tensing and then relaxing different muscle groups. 2. Deep breathing, taking slow, deep breaths to calm the body. 3. Visualization, imagining a calm and peaceful scene to promote relaxation. 2. Fear hierarchy. Creating a fear hierarchy helps structure the exposure process. For example, if someone fears spiders, their hierarchy might look like this. 1. Thinking about spiders. 2. Looking at pictures of spiders. 3. Watching a video of spider. 4. Being in the same room as a spider. 5. Touching a spider. 3. Duration and flexibility. Systematic desensitization is often a gradual process that can take place over several sessions. The pace can vary based on the individual's comfort level and progress. Examples illustrating systematic desensitization. 1. Example of overcoming a fear of flying. Scenario: a person is afraid of flying on an airplane. Step 1. The therapist teaches relaxation techniques, such as deep breathing. Step 2. They create a fear hierarchy, starting with thinking about flying, then looking at pictures of airplanes, watching videos of takeoffs, visiting an airport, and finally flying on a plane. Step 3. The individual practices relaxation techniques while confronting each level of the hierarchy. They move to the next level only when they feel comfortable and relaxed with the current step. Outcome: over time, the person learns to associate flying with relaxation instead of fear. 2. Example of overcoming a fear of public speaking. Scenario: a student has severe anxiety about speaking in front of a group. Step 1. The therapist teaches the student relaxation techniques, such as progressive muscle relaxation. Step 2. A fear hierarchy is created, starting with practicing in front of a mirror to speaking in front of a pet, then to a small group of friends, and finally delivering a presentation to the class. Step 3. The student uses relaxation techniques at each step, gradually becoming more comfortable with public speaking. Outcome: at the end of the process, the student can deliver a presentation without significant anxiety. Conclusion: in summary, systematic desensitization is an effective therapeutic technique designed to help individuals overcome fears and anxieties by gradually exposing them to the feared stimulus while incorporating relaxation techniques. By following a structured approach, such as creating a fear hierarchy and using relaxation strategies, individuals can learn to respond to their fears with calmness instead of anxiety. This method is useful for your understanding of therapeutic techniques as you prepare for the CPC exam and can be applied in various counseling and clinical settings. Observational learning. Observational learning is a type of learning that occurs when someone learns new behaviors or information by watching others. This concept emphasizes the role of social influences in the learning process and shows how we can acquire new skills, attitudes, or behaviors simply by observing others. Here's a breakdown of observational learning, including its key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand it better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of observational learning. Observational learning. This is a process of learning that happens when an individual observes the actions of others and then imitates or adopts those behaviors. It is sometimes referred to as social learning or modeling. 2. 4 key processes. According to psychologist Albert Bandura, who studied observational learning extensively, there are 4 essential processes involved. 1. Attention. The learner must pay attention to the model and their behavior. The more interesting or relevant the model is, the more likely they are to capture attention. 2. Retention. The learner must be able to remember the behavior after observing it. This may involve mental rehearsal or visualization. 3. Reproduction. The learner must have the ability to replicate or reproduce the behavior they observed. This requires practice and physical capability. 4. Motivation. Finally, the learner must want to imitate the behavior. This motivation can come from seeing the model being rewarded for their actions. 3. Vicarious reinforcement and punishment. When a model receives a reward for their behavior, it increases the likelihood that observers will imitate that behavior. Conversely, if the model is punished for a behavior, it makes observers less likely to imitate it. Important details. 1. Role of the model. Models can be direct or indirect. The effectiveness of the model depends on their perceived attractiveness and credibility. 2. Environmental influence. The social environment plays a significant role in observational learning. For example, children learn behaviors not just from their families, but also from their friends, media, and cultural norms. 3. Applications of observational learning. Observational learning has practical applications in various fields, including education, psychology, and behavior therapy. For instance, teachers use modeling to demonstrate new skills, and students can learn social skills by observing peers. Examples illustrating observational learning. 1. Example of children learning from parents. Scenario: a child watches their parent cook dinner. Observation: the child sees how their parent chops vegetables, measures ingredients, and uses the stove. Imitation: later, when playing with toy food, the child mimics the parent's cooking behaviors, showing that they have learned from observation. 2. Example of learning from media. Scenario: a teenager watches a popular TV show where characters help each other in times of need. Observation: the teenager notices the positive outcomes from these helpful actions. Imitation: motivated by what they see, the teenager starts volunteering at a local charity, learning the value of helping others. 3. Example of learning aggressive behavior. Scenario: a child sees an older sibling resolve conflicts by yelling or hitting. Observation: they note that the sibling gets attention and dominance through this aggressive behavior. Imitation: the child starts to react aggressively when faced with their own conflicts, believing it is an effective way to get what they want. Conclusion. In summary, observational learning is a fundamental process through which individuals learn by watching and imitating others. Key processes include attention, retention, reproduction, and motivation. Understanding observational learning is essential for recognizing how behaviors are acquired and changed, especially in social contexts such as education, family dynamics, and peer relationships. This knowledge will be beneficial as you prepare for the CPC exam and work in fields related to psychology and counseling. Empiricism. Empiricism is a foundational concept in philosophy and science that emphasizes the role of experience and observation in the formation of knowledge. According to empiricism, knowledge is primarily derived from sensory experiences rather than innate ideas or purely rational thought. Here's a breakdown of empiricism, including its key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand it better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of empiricism. Empiricism. This is the philosophical view that knowledge comes from sensory experience. It suggests that we learn about the world primarily through observation, experimentation, and evidence rather than through intuition or reasoning alone. 2. Sensory experience. Empiricism relies heavily on our 5 senses: sight, hearing, touch, taste, and smell. Information gathered through these senses forms the basis of our understanding of the world. 3. Contrast with rationalism. Empiricism is often contrasted with rationalism, which holds that reason and logical deduction are the primary sources of knowledge. While rationalists believe that some concepts or knowledge are inborn and can be understood through reason, empiricists argue that all knowledge comes from experience. Important details. 1. Historical background. Key philosophers associated with empiricism include John Locke, George Berkeley, and David Hume. They contributed significantly to the development of empiricist thought, arguing that all ideas are formed based on sensory experience. 2. The scientific method. Empiricism plays a crucial role in the scientific method, which involves making observations, forming hypotheses, conducting experiments, and drawing conclusions based on empirical evidence. This method ensures that scientific knowledge is based on observable data rather than speculation. 3. Types of empiricism. There are different forms of empiricism, including classical empiricism, emphasizes that all knowledge comes from experience. Radical empiricism proposes that experience itself includes not just sensory data, but also the relationships and associations between experiences. Examples illustrating empiricism. 1. Scientific experiment. Scenario: a scientist wants to understand how plants grow. Application of empiricism. The scientist conducts experiments by measuring the growth of plants under different conditions and collects data through observations. Outcome: the conclusions about what factors promote plant growth are based on empirical evidence gathered through experiments. 2. Learning through experience. Scenario: a student learns that touching a hot stove causes pain. Application of empiricism. Instead of being told that stoves are hot, the student learns through direct sensory experience that touching the stove leads to a painful reaction. Outcome: this first-hand experience contributes to the student's understanding of safety around hot objects. 3. Social interactions. Scenario: a person observes that when they smile at someone, the other person often smiles back. Application of empiricism. Through repeated experiences, they confirm that smiling tends to elicit a positive response from others. Outcome: their knowledge about social interactions is based on empirical observation rather than assumptions. Conclusion. In summary, empiricism is the philosophical view that knowledge is primarily gained through sensory experience and observation. This approach emphasizes the importance of data and evidence in understanding the world, distinguishing it from rationalist perspectives that rely on innate ideas or reasoning alone. Understanding empiricism is essential, especially in scientific fields, as it lays the groundwork for the scientific method and evidence-based practices. This knowledge will be beneficial for your studies in preparation for the CPC exam. Maturationist theories. Development driven by heredity. Development driven by heredity refers to the idea that our biological makeup, our genes and hereditary factors, plays a significant role in shaping who we are, including our physical traits, behaviors, and even some aspects of our personality and intelligence. Here's a breakdown of this topic, including key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand it better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of heredity. Heredity. This refers to the passing of traits and characteristics from parents to their offspring through genes. It is a key component of genetics, which is the study of how these traits are inherited. 2. Genes and DNA. Genes. These are the basic units of heredity made up of DNA. Each gene carries instructions for making specific proteins that impact various functions and features of the body. DNA. DNA is a long molecule that contains the genetic blueprint for an organism. It is organized into structures called chromosomes, which are inherited from our parents. 3. Nature versus nurture. The concept of development driven by heredity is often discussed in the context of a nature versus nurture debate. Nature refers to genetic factors, while nurture refers to environmental influences on development. This debate explores how much of who we are is determined by genetics compared to environmental factors. Important details. 1. Physical traits. Heredity is evident in physical attributes such as eye color, hair color, height, and facial features. For example, if one or both of your parents have brown eyes, you might inherit that trait and also have brown eyes. 2. Behavioral traits. Some behaviors and personality traits have a genetic basis as well. Studies on twins have shown that identical twins often share more similar traits and behaviors than fraternal twins, indicating a significant role of heredity in shaping personality. 3. Genetic disorders. Certain conditions and diseases can also be inherited. For example, cystic fibrosis and sickle cell anemia are genetic disorders caused by mutations in genes passed from parents to children. Understanding heredity helps in identifying and managing such conditions. 4. Intelligence and talent. Research suggests that heredity can influence factors like intelligence and specific talents. However, these traits are also influenced by environmental factors such as education, practice, and opportunities. Examples illustrating development driven by heredity. 1. Physical characteristics. Scenario: a child with parents who are both tall may also grow to be tall. Explanation: the height of the child is likely influenced by the genes they inherit from their parents, demonstrating how heredity affects physical development. 2. Personality traits. Scenario: a study shows that identical twins raised apart often exhibit similar personalities. Explanation: this similarity despite differing environments suggests that heredity plays a strong role in shaping personality traits. 3. Risk for genetic disorders. Scenario: a child with a family history of diabetes may have a higher risk of developing the condition themselves. Explanation: this condition can be influenced by genetic factors, showing how heredity can impact health outcomes. 4. Musical talent. Scenario: a child whose parents are both musicians might show a natural inclination or talent for music. Explanation: while practice and exposure are essential, genetics may contribute to the child's ability to learn and excel in music, reflecting how heredity can play a role in talents. Conclusion. In summary, development driven by heredity emphasizes the influence of genetic factors in shaping physical traits, behaviors, and potential health conditions. Understanding heredity is essential for recognizing how our biological makeup contributes to who we are, and it plays a vital role in discussions about the nature versus nurture debate. This knowledge is particularly relevant for your studies and preparation for the CPC exam, especially in understanding developmental and psychological processes. Maturity necessary for behavior. Maturity necessary for behavior refers to the idea that a certain level of emotional, psychological, and social development is crucial for individuals to behave appropriately and effectively in different situations. Maturity affects how we respond to challenges, make decisions, and interact with others. Here's a breakdown of this topic, including key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand it better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of maturity. Maturity can be defined as the state of being fully developed in terms of emotional, social, and cognitive abilities. It involves the ability to think critically, manage emotions, and make responsible decisions based on understanding consequences. 2. Emotional maturity. Emotional maturity refers to the ability to understand and manage one's emotions effectively. It includes being able to cope with stress, handle frustrations, and maintain positive relationships with others. 3. Social maturity. Social maturity involves recognizing social cues and understanding how to interact appropriately in various social situations. This includes skills like empathy, communication, and cooperation. 4. Cognitive maturity. Cognitive maturity refers to the level of intellectual development that enables individuals to think logically, reason effectively, and solve problems. It is often associated with the ability to consider different viewpoints and make informed decisions. Important details. 1. Developmental stages. Maturity develops over time and varies from person to person. Factors such as age, life experiences, and environment play significant roles in influencing an individual's maturity level. For example, a 16-year-old may demonstrate emotional maturity beyond their years due to life experiences, while another individual the same age may still be developing these skills. 2. Impact on behavior. Higher levels of maturity generally lead to more appropriate behaviors in social settings, better decision-making, and improved emotional regulation. In contrast, individuals who struggle with maturity might act impulsively, struggle to manage their emotions, or have difficulty getting along with others. 3. Role in adulthood. Maturity is often seen as a key factor in transitioning from adolescence to adulthood. As individuals mature, they typically gain a better understanding of responsibility, relationships, and life choices. Examples illustrating maturity necessary for behavior. 1. Example of emotional maturity. Scenario: a student receives a poor grade on a test. Mature response: instead of reacting with anger or despair, the student calmly assesses what went wrong, seeks help from a teacher, and develops a plan to study better for next time. Less mature response. The same student might choose to lash out at classmates or give up on studying altogether, showing a lack of emotional regulation and decision-making. 2. Example of social maturity. Scenario: a group of friends has a disagreement about what movie to watch. Mature response: an emotionally mature individual suggests taking a vote or finding a compromise, recognizing the value of everyone's preferences and fostering cooperation. Less mature response: another individual may insist on their choice, disregarding their friend's feelings, leading to conflict and tension within the group. 3. Example of cognitive maturity. Scenario: a teenager is considering whether to go to a party where underage drinking will occur. Mature decision: immature teenager thinks about the potential consequences and decides not to go, understanding the broader implications of their actions. Less mature decision: an immature teenager may simply focus on the fun of being with friends and choose to attend the party without considering the risks involved. Conclusion. In summary, maturity necessary for behavior underscores the importance of emotional, social, and cognitive development in shaping how we act and respond in various situations. Higher levels of maturity contribute to more appropriate and responsible behaviors, while limited maturity can lead to impulsive decisions and conflicts. Understanding maturity's role in behavior is essential, especially as you prepare for the CPC exam and consider how these concepts apply to psychology and counseling practices. Individual psychology. Inferiority complex. An inferiority complex is a psychological condition where an individual feels inadequate or less worthy compared to others. This feeling of inferiority can affect a person's self-esteem, relationships, and overall mental health. It was first introduced by the psychologist Alfred Adler, who believed that these feelings often stem from childhood experiences and can significantly shape behavior and personality. Here's a breakdown of the topic, including key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand it better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of inferiority complex. An inferiority complex is a deep-seated feeling of being less capable, less intelligent, or less attractive than others. It often leads individuals to feel insecure about their abilities and worth. 2. Origins. These feelings can develop due to various factors such as childhood experiences, social comparisons, or even family dynamics. For instance, a child might develop an inferiority complex if they are constantly compared to siblings or peers who are perceived as more successful. 3. Effects on behavior. Individuals with an inferiority complex may exhibit certain behaviors as a way to cope with their feelings of inadequacy. This can include overcompensating by striving for perfection, becoming overly competitive, or avoiding challenges altogether. Important details. 1. Signs and symptoms. People with an inferiority complex may show signs such as low self-esteem or self-worth, difficulty accepting compliments, a tendency to downplay their achievements, an excessive need for approval or validation from others, feelings of shame or embarrassment about their perceived shortcomings. 2. Impact on relationships. An inferiority complex can affect interpersonal relationships. Individuals may struggle to form healthy connections, often feeling jealous or resentful towards others who seem more successful or confident. This can lead to isolation or conflict in friendships and family dynamics. 3. Overcoming inferiority complex. Addressing an inferiority complex often involves building self-esteem and self-acceptance. This can be achieved through positive self-talk, challenging negative thoughts, and focusing on strengths. Setting realistic goals, breaking tasks into achievable steps to foster a sense of accomplishment. Seeking support, talking to friends, family, or professionals who can provide encouragement and guidance. Examples illustrating inferiority complex. 1. Example in academic settings. Scenario: a student struggles in school and often compares themselves to a high-achieving classmate. Feelings of inferiority. This student may believe they are not smart enough and start to avoid participating in class or studying, fearing failure. Outcome: their performance may decline further, reinforcing their feelings of inadequacy. 2. Example in social situations. Scenario: a person feels insecure about their appearance compared to friends who are considered more attractive. Feelings of inferiority. They may overcompensate by trying to dress excessively well or becoming overly flirty to seek attention. Outcome: this behavior can lead to superficial interactions, leaving the individual feeling even more isolated if they fail to connect on a deeper level. 3. Example of overcompensation. Scenario: an employee feels inadequate in their job compared to more experienced colleagues. Feelings of inferiority. To compensate, they may take on excessive workloads and continuously seek recognition, becoming overly competitive. Outcome: this behavior can lead to burnout and strained relationships with coworkers. Conclusion. In summary, an inferiority complex is a deep-rooted feeling of inadequacy that affects how individuals perceive themselves and interact with others. It can stem from childhood experiences and manifest in various ways, impacting self-esteem, relationships, and behavior. Understanding the dynamics of an inferiority complex is essential in psychology and counseling, as it can help individuals recognize their worth and work towards healthier self-acceptance. This knowledge will be valuable as you prepare for the CPC exam and practice in the field of psychology. Analytical psychology. Archetypes. Archetypes are universal symbols and themes that arise from the collective unconscious, a concept introduced by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. Jung believed that these archetypes shape our identities, behaviors, and interactions with the world. Among these archetypes, the anima and animus are significant, representing the feminine and masculine aspects of personality within individuals. Here's a detailed explanation of these concepts, including key ideas, important details, and examples to help you understand them better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of archetypes. Archetypes. These are patterns, images, or symbols that are universally recognized and deeply rooted in the human psyche. They help individuals navigate their experiences and understand their identity. 2. Collective unconscious. Collective unconscious. This concept refers to the part of the unconscious mind that is shared by all human beings, containing memories, experiences, and archetypes common across cultures and time periods. 3. Anima and animus. Anima. This is the feminine aspect of the male psyche. It represents qualities traditionally associated with femininity, such as intuition, emotions, and nurturing. Animus. This is the masculine aspect of the female psyche. It embodies qualities traditionally associated with masculinity, like logic, assertiveness, and strength. Important details. 1. Purpose of anima and animus. The anima and animus serve to balance the masculine and feminine qualities within an individual, promoting psychological integration and personal growth. Jung believed that acknowledging and integrating these aspects can help individuals achieve a more holistic and balanced sense of self. 2. Development of anima and animus. These archetypes develop over time, influenced by personal experiences, cultural norms, and relationships. They can surface in dreams, fantasies, and behaviors, often guiding individuals toward understanding their hidden qualities. 3. Manifestation and behaviors. The anima might show up in a man's dreams as a woman who embodies qualities he admires or feels he lacks, while the animus might appear in a woman's dreams as a strong, guiding figure. Recognizing these manifestations can lead to personal insights and emotional growth. Examples illustrating anima and animus. 1. Example of anima. Scenario: a man struggles with expressing his emotions and often feels uncomfortable with vulnerability. Manifestation: in his dreams, he begins to encounter a nurturing woman who represents his anima, embodying qualities of compassion and emotional openness. Outcome: by exploring these dreams and the feelings they evoke, he may learn to embrace his emotional side and develop deeper connections with others. 2. Example of animus. Scenario: a woman feels uncertain about asserting herself in professional settings, often deferring to others. Manifestation: in her dreams, she encounters a strong, authoritative man who represents her animus, symbolizing confidence and decisiveness. Outcome: By recognizing this figure, she may start to draw on these masculine traits, helping her become more assertive in her career. 3. Cultural representation. Archetypes of anima and animus can also appear in literature and film. For example, a female character who is nurturing and emotional may represent a man's anima, while a male character who is assertive and problem-solving may embody a woman's animus. These characters often help the protagonist develop clarity about their own strengths and vulnerabilities. Conclusion. In summary, archetypes such as the anima and animus are vital components of Carl Jung's theories, representing the inner feminine and masculine aspects of our personalities. By understanding these archetypes, individuals can work towards personal growth, emotional balance, and greater self-awareness. This concept is particularly relevant in psychology and counseling, as it encourages individuals to explore their inner selves and recognize the diverse qualities that shape their identities. This understanding will be beneficial as you prepare for the CPC exam and engage with concepts of personality and identity in psychology. Collective unconscious. The collective unconscious is a concept introduced by the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Jung. It refers to a part of the unconscious mind that is shared among all human beings, containing memories, experiences, and archetypes that are common across cultures and generations. Here's a breakdown of the topic, including key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand it better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of collective unconscious. The collective unconscious is a universal layer of the unconscious mind that houses shared experiences, instincts, and memories of humanity. Unlike personal unconsciousness, which contains individual experiences and memories, the collective unconscious includes knowledge and themes that are inherited and shared across cultures. 2. Archetypes. Archetypes are the basic symbols and themes that reside in the collective unconscious. These are universal patterns that manifest in myths, dreams, art, and cultural narratives. Examples of archetypes include: the hero represents courage and the quest for self-discovery. The mother symbolizes nurturing and support. The shadow represents the darker, hidden aspects of the self. Three, influence on behavior and culture. The collective unconscious influences how we think, feel, and behave. It shapes cultural norms, values, and myths. For example, many cultures have similar myths about creation or floods, which can be traced back to shared archetypal themes in the collective unconscious. Important details. 1. Origins of the concept. Carl Jung developed the idea of the collective unconscious in the early 20th century as he explored the depths of the human psyche. He believed that while our personal experiences shape our individual unconscious, the collective unconscious forms a deeper reservoir of universal experiences and knowledge. 2. Dream analysis. Jung used dream analysis as a tool to access the collective unconscious. He suggested that symbols and themes in dreams often reflect archetypes shared by humanity. For example, dreaming of a wise old man might symbolize the sage archetype, which represents wisdom and knowledge. 3. Cultural expressions. The collective unconscious can be observed in cultural expressions around the world. Similar stories, symbols, and motifs appear in folklore, fairy tales, and religious texts across different cultures, suggesting that these ideas stem from a shared unconscious experience. Examples illustrating collective unconscious. 1. Mythological stories. Example: many cultures have creation myths, such as the biblical story of Genesis or the Hindu story of Vishnu creating the world. Explanation: these myths reflect archetypes related to beginnings and the nature of existence, stemming from the collective unconscious shared across societies. 2. Common symbols in dreams. Example: a person dreams of being chased by a monster. Explanation: the monster may represent their own shadow archetype, symbolizing fears or repressed feelings. This theme of being pursued is a common experience found in many dreams across cultures, indicating a shared aspect of the collective unconscious. Tres popular fairy tales. Example, stories like Cinderella, Snow White, or Little Red Riding Hood feature elements like good versus evil, transformation, and a hero's journey. Explanation. These tales resonate across cultures because they tap into archetypal themes found in the collective unconscious, reflecting common human experiences and emotions. Conclusion. In summary, the collective unconscious is a crucial concept in Carl Jung psychology, representing a shared layer of the unconscious mind that contains universal experiences, memories, and archetypes. Understanding the collective unconscious helps explain why many human behaviors, cultural expressions, and myths resonate across different societies and time periods. This concept is significant in psychology, particularly in understanding human behavior and cultural patterns, which will be helpful for you as you prepare for the CPC exam. Personality development theory. Ego development. Ego development refers to the process of growth and maturation of the ego, which is a central part of personality in psychology. The ego plays a crucial role in helping individuals navigate the complexities of life, making decisions, and adapting to their environment. Understanding ego development is essential for grasping how individuals evolve psychologically. Here's a breakdown of the topic, including key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand it better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of ego. The ego is a term used in psychology to describe the part of our personality that deals with reality. It helps individuals make decisions, solves problems, and manages the demands of both internal drives and external realities. 2. Ego development. Ego development refers to the progression of the ego from basic, instinctual responses in childhood to more sophisticated abilities to think, self-reflect, and interact socially as one matures. This development involves learning to balance impulses, emotions, and social expectations. 3. Stages of ego development. Different theorists have proposed various stages of ego development. One well-known model is Erik Erikson's psychosocial stages, which outline how individuals face challenges at different ages that influence their ego development. Each stage involves a crisis that must be resolved for healthy personal growth. Important details. 1. Erikson's psychosocial stages. Erikson identified 8 stages of development, each characterized by a specific conflict. Trust versus mistrust, developing trust in caregivers. Autonomy versus shame and doubt, gaining independence and self-control. Initiative versus guilt, learning to initiate activities and feel a sense of purpose. Industry versus inferiority, developing competence and skills. Identity versus role confusion, forming a personal identity and sense of self. Intimacy versus isolation, establishing meaningful relationships. Generativity versus stagnation, contributing to society and helping the next generation. Integrity versus despair, reflecting on life with a sense of fulfillment. 2. Importance of healthy ego development. Healthy ego development is crucial for psychological well-being. It enables individuals to cope with stress, build relationships, make sound decisions, and maintain a balanced view of themselves and the world. 3. Impact of environment. The environment plays a significant role in ego development. Supportive relationships, cultural influences, and life experiences shape how the ego matures. Positive reinforcement can boost self-esteem and confidence, while negative experiences can hinder development. Examples illustrating ego development. 1. Trust versus mistrust. Scenario: a baby cries when hungry, and their caregiver promptly responds with food and comfort. Outcome: the baby learns to trust others, which lays the foundation for healthy relationships in the future. 2. Identity versus role confusion. Scenario: during adolescence, a teenager explores different interests, hobbies, and social groups, trying to figure out who they are. Outcome: successfully navigating this stage helps the teenager develop a strong sense of identity, leading to confidence and direction in life. If they struggle, they may feel confused about their place in the world. 3. Generativity versus stagnation. Scenario: An adult invests time mentoring younger colleagues and volunteering in the community. Outcome: this engagement fosters a sense of purpose and fulfillment, contributing to healthy ego development. Conversely, someone who becomes withdrawn or feels unproductive may struggle with feelings of stagnation. Conclusion: in summary, ego development is the process through which individuals grow and mature their ego, allowing them to navigate life's challenges effectively. Erik Erikson's model of psychosocial stages highlights significant conflicts that influence this development throughout life. Understanding ego development is important for recognizing how personality evolves and impacts behavior, relationships, and mental health. This knowledge is particularly relevant for your studies and preparation for the CPC exam, as it applies to various aspects of psychology and counseling. Adult development theories. Midlife crisis. A midlife crisis is a period of emotional turmoil that some people experience during middle age, typically between the ages of 40 and 60. This phase is often characterized by feelings of uncertainty, questioning life choices, and seeking meaning. It can lead to significant changes in behavior, relationships, and overall life direction. Here's a breakdown of the topic, including key concepts, important details, and examples to help you understand it better. Key concepts. 1. Definition of midlife crisis. A midlife crisis is a psychological phenomenon where individuals reflect on their lives and achievements, often leading to feelings of dissatisfaction or anxiety about the future. It's not a formal diagnosis, but a common experience during midlife. 2. Common triggers. Several factors can trigger a midlife crisis, including aging and physical changes. People may become more aware of their mortality and notice changes in their bodies. Life transitions. Events like children leaving home, divorce, or the death of a loved one can prompt reassessment of life. Career dissatisfaction. Individuals may feel unfulfilled in their jobs or wonder if they have achieved their career goals. 3. Emotional impact. Feelings during a midlife crisis can vary widely. Some common emotions include anxiety about aging and the future, regret over unfulfilled dreams or missed opportunities, confusion about identity and purpose. Important details. 1. Behavioral changes. During a midlife crisis, individuals may engage in drastic behavior changes, such as making impulsive decisions, like changing careers or ending relationships, seeking new experiences, such as traveling, taking up new hobbies, or pursuing education. Sometimes, it can manifest in negative behaviors like substance abuse or reckless spending. 2. Positive versus negative outcomes. While midlife crisis can lead to negative behaviors, it can also result in personal growth. Many people use this time to reflect on their values and priorities, rediscover passions, and set new life goals, strengthen relationships, or build new ones. 3. Coping strategies. To navigate a midlife crisis, individuals can adopt several coping strategies, such as seeking therapy or counseling to explore feelings and gain clarity, engaging in self-care activities like exercise, meditation, or hobbies, setting realistic goals, and making gradual changes rather than drastic decisions. Examples illustrating midlife crisis. 1. Career shift. Scenario: a 45-year-old lawyer feels unfulfilled and questions whether they truly enjoy their career. Behavior: they might decide to leave their law firm and start a non-profit organization advocating for social justice, seeking a more meaningful career path. Outcome: this shift can lead to greater satisfaction and a renewed sense of purpose, reflecting a positive aspect of navigating a midlife crisis. 2. Personal reflection. Scenario: a 50-year-old woman starts to feel anxious about aging and looks back at her life, realizing she has always wanted to travel more. Behavior: she begins planning a year-long trip to visit different countries, an idea she had put off for years. Outcome: this new adventure helps her rediscover her passions, enhancing her enjoyment of life and fostering personal growth. 3. Relationships and family dynamics. Scenario: a man whose children have recently left home feels a void and starts questioning his role in the family. Behavior: he may begin to focus more on his marriage, leading to deep conversations with his partner about their future together. Outcome: this renewed focus on the relationship can strengthen their bond and lead to a more fulfilling partnership. Conclusion. In summary, a midlife crisis is a common experience that many individuals face during middle age, characterized by emotional reflection, questioning life choices, and seeking meaning. While it can lead to negative behaviors, it can also result in positive changes and personal growth. Understanding the midlife crisis can help individuals navigate this phase more effectively, allowing them to find fulfillment and purpose in their lives. This knowledge is important for your studies and preparation for the CPC exam, as it connects to concepts of psychological development and counseling. Developmental transitions. Developmental transitions are significant changes that individuals experience throughout their lives as they move from one stage of development to another. These transitions can occur in physical, emotional, social, or cognitive aspects, and often signify a shift in responsibilities, roles, or perspectives. Understanding these transitions helps to recognize the challenges and opportunities people may face as they grow and develop. Here's a breakdown of the topic, including